Russia's western frontier was supposed to be quiet, stable, predictable. Yet the first image we begin with tonight is something different. A railway line in Poland, still smoking from sabotage, lights flickering. Commuters stranded in shock. No explosions, no missiles, just silence. A dangerous silence, because that silence is exactly how wars begin in the 21st century. Not with tanks, but with sparks on steel rails. And as those rails cooled, Poland understood instantly who was behind it. Russia wasn't just pressuring Ukraine anymore, it was reaching into NATO territory, trying to fracture Europe from within. But this time, Putin miscalculated, horribly. What he saw as a small tactical disruption became the trigger for one of the most devastating strategic counterattacks Europe has launched against Russia since the Cold War. Putin has been stuck in Ukraine for months. No progress, no breakthroughs, Russian cities under drone fire, hundreds of thousands of troops lost, a war machine collapsing under its own weight. So he looked west, searching for a pressure point. A way to cut Ukraine's lifeline, a way to hit NATO without technically attacking NATO. He found what he thought was an opportunity. Poland's rail network, the fastest corridor for NATO equipment, a logistical artery for Ukraine. Using Telegram, 2 hired saboteurs set fire to the Warsaw-Lublin railway line. Putin believed this would send shockwaves, that the West would panic, that NATO's unity would crack. But he has never understood Poland. Warsaw treated this attack not as vandalism, not as a random crime, but as an act of state-directed terrorism. Within hours, Poland moved faster than Russia expected possible. Their foreign minister declared the sabotage an operation coordinated by Moscow. Their government shut down Russia's consulate in Poznan, one of Russia's most important intelligence hubs in Central Europe. It wasn't just a consulate, it was a spy nest, a surveillance hub, a logistics eye monitoring NATO troop movements, train shipments, energy lines, and military exercises. Russia's entire situational awareness in western Poland evaporated overnight. This was Poland's first strike, non-military, precise, devastating. And it triggered a chain reaction Putin can't stop. For years, the Kremlin believed that the Suwałki corridor, the narrow stretch between Poland and Lithuania, was NATO's biggest weakness, the place Russia would attack to isolate the Baltic states. But something has changed. Sweden joined NATO, Finland joined NATO, Poland rebuilt its military at wartime speed, and now the Suwałki corridor has flipped from a vulnerability into a choke point, a noose around Kaliningrad. Kaliningrad was once Russia's forward military fortress in Europe, a base filled with Iskander missiles, a naval stronghold on the Baltic Sea. Now it is an island surrounded by NATO, a pocket Russia cannot reinforce by land, a region NATO can suffocate without firing a shot. And Poland just accelerated that suffocation, because closing the Poznan consulate didn't just blind Russia in Poland, it also removed Russia's last reliable intelligence node monitoring the rail lines connecting Germany to Ukraine. Those lines are the arteries of NATO's entire logistical chain. Without visibility, Russia is now effectively fighting in the dark. They don't know what's moving, or when, or how much, or where. For an army already struggling, this is disastrous. Putin has always believed that Russia could control escalation, that he could sabotage, intimidate, provoke, and the West would hesitate. But Poland flipped the script. Poland didn't hesitate. Poland escalated back harder, and it did so with complete legal legitimacy because Warsaw labeled the sabotage state terrorism. That allows Poland to shut borders, expel diplomats, impose extraordinary security measures, and restrict Russia's access to Europe, all without triggering Article 5. This is hybrid warfare turned inside out. Poland has weaponized administration, infrastructure, and geography. It isn't fighting Russia with missiles, it's fighting Russia with choke points, with border controls, with intelligence cuts, with diplomatic expulsions. And the effect is brutal. Border crossings with Belarus, Russia's key ally, are now backed up for tens of kilometers, trucks stuck for days. Food spoiling, contracts collapsing, factories slowing, small Belarusian businesses bankrupting. Russian parallel import networks, the grey market pipelines that have kept sanctioned goods flowing, are breaking apart. Thousands of drivers stuck at the border aren't just frustrated. They are desperate, angry, and politically dangerous. This is not theory. It's happening right now. Poland's actions threaten the last remaining thread connecting Russia to the European market. And if Poland decides to close its border entirely, even temporarily, Russia and Belarus will face immediate economic convulsions. Not in years, in days. That's the power Poland holds. Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia understood this instantly, and they aligned with Poland in lockstep. One for all. The message is clear. If Russia attacks infrastructure in Poland, all three Baltic states respond. And now, with Sweden and Finland in NATO, the entire Baltic Sea has become a NATO lake. Russia's navy cannot move without being tracked. Kaliningrad cannot breathe without someone in Warsaw or Vilnius allowing it. Putin's nightmare scenario is here. Kaliningrad, once his strategic asset, is now his greatest geopolitical liability. A region he must supply by sea and air at massive cost. A region NATO can monitor from every direction. A region Russia cannot reinforce if war expands. It's a military outpost turned logistical coffin. Poland knows exactly how vulnerable Kaliningrad is, and Poland is applying pressure with precision. The sabotage attempt gave Warsaw what it needed: legitimacy, a reason to tighten controls, a reason to close routes, a reason to strengthen security. Now every shipment to Kaliningrad takes longer, costs more, and carries higher risk. Fuel, food, spare parts, ammunition. Everything becomes more expensive and less reliable. And Poland didn't stop there. The Polish government launched Operation Horizon, deploying more than 10,000 troops to protect critical infrastructure. Power stations, telecom hubs, rail junctions, border fences. These are the systems Russia would need to sabotage to weaken NATO's logistics. Poland has now covered them with armed guards, armored units, and surveillance layers so dense that Russia's cheap telegram saboteurs no longer stand a chance. What Putin triggered was a permanent shift. Poland began constructing the Eastern Shield, a €2.5 billion defensive barrier along its border with Belarus. Electronic grids, drones, walls, fortifications. A full-scale 21st century Iron Curtain, but this time built by NATO, not the USSR. And the timing couldn't be worse for Moscow. Russia's economy is collapsing under the cost of war. Their factories are cannibalizing old machinery just to keep production running. Their budgets are drained. Their intelligence networks are crippled, and now they're forced to resupply a massive military enclave, Kaliningrad, through the most heavily monitored sea on Earth. Poland hasn't just made life harder for Russia, it has made life expensive, very expensive. And every extra ruble Russia spends on logistics is a ruble it cannot spend on the battlefield in Ukraine. Poland isn't trying to destroy Russia through war, it's trying to bankrupt it through geography. This is economic warfare executed with surgical precision. But the real shock for Moscow came from somewhere else entirely: China. Because Poland's borders aren't just a gateway for Russian goods, they're a gateway for Chinese goods being shipped to Europe through Russia and Belarus. China's Belt and Road Initiative relies on those very corridors. Poland didn't close them yet, but it raised the possibility. And that creates a geopolitical nightmare for Putin. If Beijing sees Russia as a liability, if it sees Russia threatening the trade routes China depends on, then Putin's strongest partner suddenly becomes an irritated partner. Beijing hates instability, and Poland is showing that Russia brings nothing but instability. Russia is now squeezed from every direction, militarily by Ukraine, economically by Europe, logistically by Poland, politically by the Baltics, and silently, but increasingly seriously, strategically by China. Isolation is closing in like a tightening ring, but perhaps the most humiliating moment for Putin came when Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov reacted to Poland's consulate shutdown. His words weren't strong, they weren't defiant, they were desperate. This reduces the possibility of future diplomatic relations to zero. Translation: Russia has lost its last foothold in Poland, its last intelligence base, its last channel of influence. An empty building is all that remains of Moscow's once proud presence. Putin wanted to show strength. He showed weakness. He wanted to intimidate Poland. Poland exposed him. He wanted to fracture NATO. NATO unified instantly. And the message spreading through Europe is unmistakable. Poland is no longer just a regional player. It is NATO's frontline commander in the East. Its actions reverberate across Europe. Its decisions shape NATO's response. Its strategy is now the template for how to counter Russia's hybrid warfare. This entire crisis reveals a brutal truth that Putin refuses to acknowledge. Russia does not control the battlefield anymore, not in Ukraine, not in Europe, not in diplomacy, and certainly not in logistics. Kaliningrad, once his symbol of strength, now symbolizes his vulnerability. If supplies slow, the region collapses. If borders tighten, its economy dies. If NATO wants, Kaliningrad becomes a stranded outpost, surrounded by hostile airspace and patrolled seas. Russia has no answer, no counter-strategy, no leverage, because any military move against Poland or Lithuania would trigger Article 5, the one thing Putin fears above all else. He knows the Russian army cannot fight a united NATO. Not now, not in this condition, not after losing so much in Ukraine. So he watches helplessly as Poland tightens the pressure, border by border, railway by railway, month by month. And the Russian people, they see the truth, their salaries shrinking, food prices rising, factories closing. And now even Russia's foreign outposts in Europe are collapsing. Their leaders brag about being a great power, yet Poland shut down one consulate and dismantled an entire intelligence network in a single stroke. This is not just a diplomatic defeat. Not just a strategic defeat, it is a psychological defeat. Putin wanted Europe to fear him. Instead, Europe is uniting to contain him. Tonight, Poland stands at the center of this transformation, not with tanks, not with missiles, but with strategy, discipline, and a cold understanding that Russia only stops when it is stopped. And that is why Poland is acting now. That is why the Baltics are acting now. That is why Europe is repositioning its armies, why Germany is expanding its military reserves, and why NATO's eastern flank is becoming a real wall, built from steel, sanctions, and unwavering resolve. Russia wanted to test the West. Poland answered, and the result is a geopolitical map where Russia's strategic outpost, Kaliningrad, is no longer a launchpad. It is a liability, a hostage to NATO's geography, a fortress cut off from the empire it once served. Putin lit a fire on a Polish railway. Poland responded by reshaping the entire strategic architecture of Europe. This is only the beginning. Before you go, remember, we are an independent news channel in a world drowning in corruption. If you want to support real journalism, please like and subscribe to our channel. It truly helps.